Every rider eventually notices it. The bikes that once felt exciting start feeling heavier, harsher, and less forgiving. But here's the part most riders miss. Long before electronics and rider modes, several motorcycles from the 1980s were engineered with smooth engines, balanced weight, and real-world comfort that many modern machines still struggle to match. Today, we're counting down 12 classic motorcycles from the 80s that senior riders can still enjoy with confidence. Ignore these machines and you might overlook some of the most comfortable and dependable bikes ever built. Number 12, Honda CMX450 Rebel. Kicking off this countdown is a motorcycle that proves a simple point. Sometimes the best ride is the one that feels the easiest to control. The Honda CMX450 Rebel was never about overwhelming power. Instead, it focused on something far more important for many experienced riders: confidence. Honda designed the Rebel with one clear purpose: approachability. The saddle sits low to the pavement, allowing most riders to plant both boots solidly at a stop. For experienced riders returning to motorcycling after years away, that sense of balance immediately removes tension. Parking lots feel manageable, stoplights feel steady, and slow maneuvers feel natural instead of nerve-wracking. Power comes from a 447 cubic centimeter air-cooled parallel twin producing roughly 38 horsepower. It feeds through a smooth 6-speed gearbox that delivers gentle, predictable acceleration. Instead of sudden surges, the Rebel answers with calm, steady pull, exactly the kind of response that makes relaxed cruising enjoyable. Weighing just under 400 pounds with a low center of gravity, the bike feels light on its feet even at walking pace. Many riders rediscover their confidence within the first few miles. If these kinds of classic motorcycles are the ones that still make you want to ride, not just admire them in a showroom, consider giving the video a like, drop a quick comment, and subscribe to the channel. Support like that motivates us to keep digging through decades of motorcycles to find the machines that truly stood the test of time. The Rebel proves that simple, well-balanced engineering never loses its charm. But once comfort and confidence return, many riders start wanting something more substantial beneath them. Something with deeper rumble, stronger highway muscle, and the classic feel of a true V-twin cruiser. And that is precisely where the next machine in this countdown enters the road. Number 11, Yamaha Virago 750. If the Rebel opened the door to relaxed motorcycling, the Yamaha Virago 750 stepped through it with unmistakable cruiser soul. When Yamaha introduced the Virago line at the dawn of the 1980s, it helped redefine what a Japanese V-twin cruiser could feel like on the open road. At its heart sits a 748 cubic centimeter air-cooled V-twin delivering roughly 55 horsepower and about 47 pound-feet of torque. But the real magic appears lower in the Revy range. Twist the throttle gently, and the engine answers with a deep, steady pull instead of a frantic rush. Around town or gliding along a country highway near 60 miles per hour, the motor settles into that familiar V-twin rhythm riders often describe as mechanical music. Despite the bigger engine, the Virago remains welcoming. Its seat rests low to the pavement, giving riders solid footing at stops, while the chassis carries enough weight to feel planted at highway speed without becoming unwieldy. Even better, Yamaha fitted a shaft drive system, reducing routine maintenance and delivering smoother power to the rear wheel. Yet as the decade unfolded, riders began wanting cruiser comfort with even stronger durability and everyday practicality. And that shift brings us directly to the next motorcycle waiting in this countdown. Number 10, Kawasaki Vulcan 750. By the middle of the 1980s, cruiser motorcycles were no longer just about chrome and laid-back styling. Riders were beginning to expect smarter engineering and fewer maintenance headaches. That shift opened the door for the Kawasaki Vulcan 750, a machine that quietly brought modern refinement into the cruiser world. Kawasaki built the Vulcan as its first true entry into the V-twin cruiser category, and they gave it a surprisingly advanced heart. Beneath the tank sits a 749 cubic centimeter liquid, cooled V-twin producing roughly 66 horsepower and about 47 pound-feet of torque. The delivery feels smooth and measured rather than forceful, making steady highway riding feel calm and predictable. Ease of ownership was just as important as performance. Instead of a traditional chain, Kawasaki fitted a shaft drive system. That sealed setup reduces routine maintenance and keeps power flowing smoothly to the rear wheel, something many experienced riders value after decades of turning wrenches. We've already looked at a few motorcycles that prove comfort did not start with modern touring bikes. Now we're curious. Have you ever spent real miles on one of these 1980s machines? If you have, share your experience in the comments. Riders who actually lived with these bikes often know details that specs and brochures never mention, and those stories help everyone appreciate these classics a little more. The Vulcan also carries its weight with confidence. A low saddle keeps riders comfortable at stops, while the chassis feels planted when the road opens up ahead. But while cruisers were refining comfort and simplicity, many riders still preferred the upright balance and smooth engines of traditional standards. And that brings us to a motorcycle built for effortless miles and legendary durability. Number 9, Suzuki GS850G. As the 1980s gathered momentum, plenty of riders still favored the balanced feel of a traditional standard motorcycle. No stretched-out cruiser stance, no radical bodywork, just upright ergonomics in a dependable engine, ready for serious miles. One of the most respected examples of that philosophy was the Suzuki GS850G. At its core sits an 843 cubic centimeter air, cooled inline-four, producing roughly 78 horsepower and about 48 pound-feet of torque. Yet the real advantage of this layout isn't simply output, it is refinement. Inline-four engines fire in a smooth sequence that keeps vibration low, allowing the motor to spin hour after hour with a calm, steady character. Suzuki paired that engine with a shaft drive system, eliminating chain maintenance and making long ownership easier. Combined with the bike's planted chassis and natural riding posture, the result was a machine built for riders who valued reliability and distance over flash. Many owners discovered the GS could devour highways all day without complaint, a trait that earned the series lasting respect. But while dependable standards satisfied many experienced riders, others wanted something with deeper heritage and unmistakable character. And the next motorcycle delivers exactly that unmistakable rumble. Number 8, Harley-Davidson Sportster, 883. Few motorcycles carry the heritage and unmistakable presence of the Harley-Davidson Sportster. 883. When Harley-Davidson introduced this model in the middle of the 1980s, it marked a pivotal shift for the company. The new Evolution V-twin engine replaced the aging ironhead design, bringing improved durability, tighter oil control, and a level of reliability that helped restore faith in the brand. At the center of the machine sits an 883 cubic centimeter air, cooled 45-degree V-twin, producing just over 50 horsepower. Yet horsepower numbers were never the heart of the Sportster story. What riders remember is the torque arriving low in the revvy range and the steady rhythm pulsing through the handlebars. That rhythmic V-twin character is part of what made the Sportster so iconic. Although later in this countdown, we'll look at a touring motorcycle whose engine is famous for delivering the same kind of relaxed confidence while carrying riders comfortably across entire states in a single day. Rolling along a quiet highway near 55 miles per hour, the engine feels relaxed, confident, and unmistakably alive. Compared with Harley's larger touring machines, the Sportster remained compact and approachable. The seat rests low, and the bike carries enough weight to feel planted without becoming intimidating in everyday riding. For many riders, the Sportster was more than transportation. It was a gateway into decades of American riding culture. But while heritage and character run deep, some riders begin looking for something designed to cover serious distance with ease. And that search leads directly to the next motorcycle in our countdown. Number 7, BMW R80RT. By the opening years of the 1980s, some motorcycles were no longer built just for Sunday rides. They were engineered to cross states, countries, and entire continents with calm confidence. Few machines captured that philosophy better than the BMW R80RT. At its core lies BMW's legendary 798 cubic centimeter air-cooled boxer twin, producing roughly 50 horsepower and about 43 pound-feet of torque. Unlike traditional engines with upright cylinders, the boxer layout spreads the cylinders flat and opposite each other. That design naturally balances the moving parts, creating a steady mechanical rhythm that long-distance riders quickly come to appreciate. The engine, however, was only the beginning. The letters RT stand for Reise-Tourer, a German phrase meaning travel tourer. From the start, the R80RT was designed to make distance feel effortless. Its large factory fairing shields the rider from wind and weather, allowing hours of highway travel without the constant fight against rushing air. A 5-speed transmission and low-maintenance shaft drive further reinforced its touring focus, while the generous fuel tank allowed impressive range between stops. Out on a quiet highway, the Boxer engine hums steadily while the miles slip away almost unnoticed. Yet even this thoughtful touring machine would soon be challenged by motorcycles offering even greater luxury and long-distance comfort. And that is exactly where our story heads next. Number 6. The Yamaha Venture Royale. By the early 1980s, the motorcycle world was beginning to evolve. The previous decade had been obsessed with outright speed and quarter-mile glory, but many riders were starting to value something far more meaningful: the ability to travel far, comfortably, and without fatigue. Yamaha recognized that shift early, and their answer arrived as a full-scale luxury touring machine, the Venture Royale. Introduced in 1983 as the XVZ1200 Venture Royale, this motorcycle marked Yamaha's serious entrance into the long-distance touring category. At its core sat a 1,198 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V4 engine, producing roughly 90 horsepower, paired with a smooth 5-speed transmission and a reliable shaft drive. Instead of aggressive bursts of acceleration, the V4 delivered steady, refined power that made highway cruising feel relaxed and effortless. The Venture's large touring chassis and long wheelbase created impressive stability on wide American highways. Riders sat upright behind wide handlebars in a deeply padded seat, a position designed to reduce fatigue during extended rides. Yamaha also equipped the Venture Royale with a large protective fairing, integrated luggage, and touring-focused comforts that were surprisingly advanced for the ERA. Up to this point, we've covered cruisers, touring bikes, and a few balanced standards that still hold up surprisingly well decades later. So tell us, which type of motorcycle fits your riding style today? A laid-back cruiser, a long-distance tourer, or a classic standard? Share your pick in the comments. And if you're enjoying the ride so far, a like on the video helps more riders discover these timeless machines. Now let's continue with the motorcycles that still impress even after 40 years. Number 5. The Honda Goldwing Gal 1200. By the middle of the 1980s, one motorcycle had already begun defining what serious long-distance touring looked like. The Honda Goldwing Gal 1200 was not simply another comfortable machine. It was a motorcycle built with a single purpose in mind: carrying riders across enormous distances with calm confidence and mechanical grace. Introduced in 1984, the GL 1200 represented a major evolution of Honda's famous touring platform. At its heart was a 1,182 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled flat-4 engine producing roughly 94 horsepower. Because the cylinders stretched outward in a horizontally opposed layout, the engine sat low in the frame and naturally balanced itself. The result was astonishing smoothness, with very little vibration reaching the rider even after hours on the highway. Touring riders quickly discovered something special about the Goldwing. The engine did not feel frantic or demanding. Instead, it delivered a steady, turbine-like pull that made maintaining highway speeds feel effortless. A long wheelbase, broad saddle, and large protective fairing created remarkable highway stability, while versions like the Interstate and 𝐷𝐈𝐃𝐑 added luggage and touring luxuries. The Goldwing proved how refined touring motorcycles could become. Yet for some riders, comfort alone was never the entire story. They still wanted a machine that combined long-distance stability with unmistakable performance character. And that search leads directly to the next motorcycle in this countdown. Number 4. The BMW K100. As the 1980s progressed, motorcycle engineering was entering a fascinating new chapter. Riders still wanted comfort and long-distance capability, but manufacturers were beginning to experiment with bold technology that could improve refinement, stability, and reliability on the open road. Few motorcycles captured that shift more clearly than BMW's K100. When it arrived in 1983, the K100 represented a dramatic departure from BMW's long tradition of boxer twin machines. Instead, engineers introduced a completely different heart, a 987 cubic centimeter liquid, cooled inline-four mounted lengthwise along the frame. Its squared shape earned it the nickname the Flying Brick, but beneath that unusual appearance was a carefully engineered solution. By positioning the engine low and longitudinally, BMW created a motorcycle with impressive balance and a noticeably lower center of gravity. The engine produced roughly 90 horsepower, delivering smooth and measured acceleration rather than sudden bursts of aggression. On American highways, the sensation was one of quiet precision, where the motorcycle tracked straight and steady mile after mile. The K100 also featured a shaft drive system, reducing maintenance compared with traditional chain setups. Riders planning longer trips appreciated the simplicity: fewer adjustments, less mechanical fuss, and more uninterrupted riding. Even more impressive was the technology packed inside. Electronic fuel injection helped deliver consistent throttle response and efficient performance, features that were still uncommon on many motorcycles of the era. When the K100 reached American dealerships, its price hovered near $6,700. Today, clean examples often trade between $3,000 and $6,000, though well-preserved machines can command even more among enthusiasts who recognize their importance. The K100 proved that innovation could reshape the sport touring landscape. Yet not every rider wanted advanced engineering and futuristic layouts. Some still preferred the unmistakable pulse of a classic cruiser. And the motorcycle waiting next brings exactly that kind of timeless character back to the road. Number 3, the Suzuki Intruder 750. By the middle of the 1980s, cruiser motorcycles were changing rapidly. Riders still loved the laid-back attitude and classic silhouette of American-style cruisers, but expectations were rising. Comfort mattered more than ever. Reliability had become essential, and riders wanted machines that felt easy to live with day after day. Suzuki answered that demand with a motorcycle that blended timeless style with dependable engineering, the Intruder 750. When it debuted in 1985, the Intruder immediately stood out. At its heart sat a 747 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin, producing roughly 55 horsepower. But the real charm was not in raw numbers. This engine was tuned for smooth, accessible torque, delivering steady pull right where riders used it most. Out on the road, that character created an easy-going riding experience. Roll on the throttle and the motorcycle responds with calm, predictable power rather than sudden bursts. It encourages a relaxed cruising rhythm, the kind of pace where the scenery becomes part of the ride instead of something rushing past. The ergonomics reinforced that feeling. A low seat and forward-mounted controls created the classic cruiser posture, allowing riders to stretch out comfortably while the motorcycle remained stable and confidence-inspiring. When new, the Intruder carried a price around $3,500 in American dealerships. Today, well-kept examples still circulate for a few $1,000s, making them an accessible entry into vintage motorcycling. The Intruder proved that cruising could be simple, smooth, and deeply satisfying. Yet another motorcycle quietly built an even stronger reputation for balance and everyday dependability, and that trusted machine is waiting just ahead. Number 2, Honda CB750 Nighthawk. Sometimes the perfect machine was the one that started every morning, handled every road with calm confidence, and asked very little in return. That philosophy is exactly what defines the Honda CB750 Nighthawk. The story of this motorcycle stretches back to one of the most important machines in motorcycling history, the legendary Honda CB750, that first introduced the world to the modern inline-four. By the time the Nighthawk arrived, Honda had refined that formula into something wonderfully practical. At the heart of the bike sits a 747 cubic centimeter air-cooled inline-four, producing roughly 75 horsepower. Yet raw output was never the real highlight. What riders immediately noticed was the engine's remarkable smoothness. Inline-four engines fire in a perfectly balanced rhythm, minimizing vibration and creating a steady, almost effortless surge of power. On long highway rides, that mechanical calm becomes incredibly valuable. The riding posture adds to that sense of ease. Instead of stretched cruiser controls or aggressive sport bike lean, the Nighthawk places the rider upright and centered. The result is excellent visibility, relaxed shoulders, and precise control, whether navigating city streets or drifting along open rural highways. Its proportions strike a practical balance as well. The seat height sits around 31 inches, while the bike carries enough weight to feel stable at speed without becoming intimidating during slow parking maneuvers. But the true legacy of the Nighthawk was never about statistics. Owners often kept these motorcycles for decades, trusting them for daily commuting, weekend escapes, and cross-state road trips. It quietly earned a reputation as one of the most dependable motorcycles of its generation. Yet even a machine this balanced cannot quite claim the crown when the conversation turns to the ultimate long-distance companion. Because when comfort, smoothness, and touring mastery reach their peak, one legendary motorcycle rises above the rest. But before we reveal the motorcycle that takes the #1 spot, quick question: are you enjoying this ride through the classics? If you are, a quick like on the video really helps the channel. And if you'd like to support what we do here while getting early access to upcoming videos, you can also join as a member. Now let's take a look at the bike that earned the top position on this list. Number 1. Honda Goldwing GL1100. At the very summit of this countdown sits a motorcycle that reshaped what riders expected from long-distance travel on two wheels. The Honda Goldwing GL1100. When Honda introduced this generation at the dawn of the 1980s, it was not merely an update, it was a declaration that serious touring motorcycles had entered a new era. At the heart of the machine rests a 1,085 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled flat-4 engine producing roughly 80 horsepower. Because the cylinders lie horizontally opposed, the engine sits low in the chassis, creating a naturally balanced design and a remarkably low center of gravity. The result is an incredibly smooth ride. Instead of vibration or strain, the engine delivers a steady, relaxed surge that feels perfectly suited for covering mile after mile of open highway. Yet the brilliance of the Goldwing extends far beyond the engine. Honda built the entire motorcycle around comfort and stability. A long wheelbase, planted chassis, and relaxed riding posture allow riders to remain comfortable for hours in the saddle. Many versions even arrived with large touring fairings and integrated luggage, transforming the motorcycle into a genuine cross-country companion. Together, these motorcycles remind us that the 1980s produced machines built not only for speed but for experience, endurance, and connection with the road. And for riders who understand that motorcycling is not about racing the miles, but enjoying them. These classic machines continue to prove their value decades later. If you want to discover even more motorcycles riders trust for long-term reliability, the next video will show you even more incredible motorcycles you do not want to miss. Click the video on your screen right now and make sure to subscribe to stay engaged.